right, everyone, welcome. Today we have a wonderful, exciting guest. We have Bailey. She is a somatic sex educator and she is phenomenal. So I'm so excited to have her right around Valentine's Day.
All right, everyone, welcome. Today we have a wonderful, exciting.
Right, fabulous. Thank you so much. I am extremely excited to be here. I appreciate your introduction. So I'm just going to spend 1 second here screen sharing all this and getting my presentation. Cool. All right, 1 more second here.
And while you're doing that, I should introduce myself. I am Julie Wallace, a pelvic floor physical therapist with Insight Physical Therapy and Wellness. Also, I am postpartum doc on Instagram. So I do everything pelvic, and so I'm excited to talk about sex today. All right, Bailey, it's all you.
Thank you. Of course, now my Zoom isn't up. There we go. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Now it looks like this is working. Perfect. Okay, thank you so much, Julie. So my name again is Bailey Barmettler. I have recently started up a small business in Longmont, Colorado, as well as in Fort Collins, Colorado, called Art, Romance, and Reality. My background, just so you guys have a little bit of a feel about me and what I do. I have a BA in psychology with a minor in peace and reconciliation, which is a part of conflict management studies. I got that from CSU in Fort Collins. Then I spent about 2 years at a pelvic floor physical therapy clinic as a business manager. So I feel like Julie and I have a decent connection there. And I definitely have a lot of respect and appreciation for what she does and how much healing there really can be through pelvic floor awareness and different therapies. And how that can impact sex, painful sex, all sorts of things with sex. But sex is sort of its own realm, right? Because that has a lot to do with passion and pleasure as well. So I found while working there that not only did I have a passion for women's health and wellness, but I had a passion for the sex side of things. I already knew there were therapists out there dealing with the musculature. But I wanted to deal with the passion and the intimacy and the communication and eventually the sexual trauma. So I went ahead and got certified through IC as a sex educator. I am also certified as a somatic sex educator. And I'm collecting hours to become certified in something called somatic sexological body working. And I'm going to kind of explain what that is here really quickly, because somatic is a rather foreign term to many people, or maybe you've sort of heard it on the fritz. So somatic is Greek for the soul of the body. It is supposed to encompass everything that is the body. So all of the senses, the sensory memory that we hold and store throughout our lifetime, and everything that kind of comes with having a physical form. That I was really inspired to pursue because of my own past history with sexual trauma, and then sort of an ensuing struggle with being able to enjoy intercourse in really any capacity until, gosh, I was almost 30, which was a pretty sad way to live through my 20s, at least for me. So it was a personal journey, and once I overcame it, which dealt with a lot of this somatic realm, it really opened a new world to me, and suddenly I wanted to share it with everyone, and I just wanted everyone to have as much pleasure in their life as they could possibly handle. It makes for a much happier household, in my opinion.
I completely agree.
I know, it's like no one knows why the household's tense, but yeah, all of a sudden you start having a little more fun in the bedroom and the whole household's a little more relaxed somehow.
And I honestly would argue that sex is one of our daily, not daily needs, but it's one of our needs. We are sexual beings. That's how we came onto this planet. And so if you're not getting it, then, that's just one of your needs that's not being met.
Right? Like we have a number of sensory needs, but pleasurable touch is absolutely a requirement for thriving. And I feel like sex is one of the healthiest practices you can do. It's one of the most enjoyable forms of exercise, in my opinion, or at least getting a little cardio. And there's so many like neurological benefits, all the neurotransmitters, the oxytocin, which helps you, feel cuddly and connect. Obviously all the serotonin that makes you just like happy and joyful for the rest of the day. There's a lot of benefit that comes from it. But even if, sex, which is like mostly viewed by people as intercourse or penetration, even if it is just body-based pleasure or working in a daily erotic practice, it's very, very good for mind, body, soul, you name it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, glad you concur. Yeah, glad you agree. So for a brief time together today, here's sort of a short agenda that I had. I have a little audience poll set up just so I can kind of see who's out there, who all we're speaking to and where they're at.
We changed where we're posting, so I'm hoping that people will join us, but I'm not sure if they got the memo. So just a heads up with that.
That's totally fine. If that part doesn't work, then that's a-okay. If we can always skip over it, but then I can go into some common libido blockers and some libido boosters, which might be good to know around this Valentine's Day, weekend, as well as just some pleasure-based experiments and ideas that do not necessarily have to include the genitals. So anyone who is unable to participate in penetration, is uncomfortable with it, or is unable to do it. Our postpartum gals out there, hats off to you. And then if we're able to do a closing poll, great. If not, then we can just skip straight to Q&A. And then Julie, I'll kind of let you handle either providing those questions if my Slido doesn't work on here, or queuing into the chat and seeing what people have to say.
Great, sounds good, thank you.
Cool. So let's give this a shot. I'm hoping my little video hasn't been in the way the whole time. So there is a awesome little site that you can go to on your phone. You just have to put in this little number. It's called Slido. And anyone can kind of just pop into that. And I guess they can give it like a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or just rate one of these sort of where they're at. Or we can, like I said, kind of skip over this. I was just trying to gauge if people are currently participating in penetration or not, and if they have any desire to or not.
And so I would say, just based off of kind of the conversation that I've been having with people recently, is that the majority would say that they're not even participating in it because there's no desire for it.
Because there's no desire. Okay, perfect. I can spend a good bit of time on that. I was going to kind of ask how people would describe their current feelings towards engaging in it, but since you're here, I'm going to run with the assumption that you are interested in obviously gaining the desire and interested in engaging in some type of erotic practice in your life. And then if you guys had any ideas on what you feel could improve the quality for your erotic experience, just so that you can hold that in the back of your mind as I kind of go through this presentation to see if I happen to touch on it, or if not, if you happen to have any questions at the end, or if you'd like to reach out to me with any questions. So I'll just move into a quick note on the complexities of sex like sensuality, our sexual identities, how we build what we in big words would call a biopsychosocial intersectional lens of sexuality around our life. Now, as you can kind of see from this, and you don't have to read it all, please feel free to take a screenshot if you'd like, but this is just a small, tiny, itty bitty little snapshot of just some of the intersections. I have about 5 slides of different depths of different intersecting factors that can really build and create and complicate someone's sexual urges, someone's ability to feel pleasure with touch, or their connection to their genitals, what turns them on, what turns them off, if they're even attracted to anything. Oop, I skipped ahead. But it is a complicated network. So in no way is it like an easy one and done, or, you know, should a partner be coming to you and necessarily saying like, hey, what's wrong with you? You're broken, just fix it. Like that's obviously not a very helpful approach when there can be so much going on behind the scenes. Yeah, do you have anything to comment on, Julie?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna definitely agree with that. That, you know, it's so important that that partners and you yourself as a partner in the relationship are just so respectful of each other and understand that you're coming from 2 different places, and it's important to respect that.
Yeah. Yeah, because everything, even right here in just this one slide, is highly individual. So one of the notes I comment on later is how important communication is, and it is because of all of these factors. It's not really safe to assume or have expectations because with that comes sort of this idea that your partner can mind read you or mind read your body or your nervous system or what senses you're having and how they connect to your emotions. And that's where a lot of like fears and judgment and I think, you know, maybe a little anger or distance comes from.
Yeah,
A lot of those shadowy, dark feelings. All right, so moving on to some of the common libido blockers and boosters. Libido blockers. I'm sure a number of things kind of come into your mind. But according to McKinsey sex studies and research that's been done, I believe since the 1970s, so it's been very extensive. What they really factored down into being the antithesis to pleasure is fear, shame, and anxiety. I'm sure all of us can relate to those in some capacity, probably in the bedroom or throughout our life with different erotic experiences. But fear, that can include anything from trauma that you've encountered in your life. And this does not necessarily need to include sexual trauma. It can also include intergenerational trauma. If your grandparents and your parents lived in a house full of shame and anxiety, not only are they going to like genetically pass down the traits for you to be easily triggered into those states and maintain them for survival reasons. But obviously then there's even more chance of trauma actually occurring in the household or having struggles in childhood. How you were raised, this can be sort of subtle also in the fear spectrum. Say if you were nude or naked and you had a parent or a grandparent who, you know, walked in or maybe saw a nude body on TV and they were just like, oh my gosh, and they had like a fear response to it, or like, oh my gosh, cover your eyes. That can arouse in you, in your body and in your somatic system, sort of this little instant trigger of like, ooh, that's not okay, or ooh, I don't know about that. So it can come in little ways as well. Then there's obviously fears around things that need a lot of discussion, fear around pain tolerances, different types of pressure, texture, all sorts of different sensations, that there can be different fears around. Some people love tickling, some people hate tickling, and some people can be tickled with a little pressure, a lot of pressure, for example. And then I think I also put conflict in here because I think that's a large source of fear when it comes to communicating around sex. It is a sensitive and delicate topic, but if you are, you know, interacting with someone erotically, there should be this understanding that this is for both your benefits, and it shouldn't really be a source of conflict as much as a place of curiosity and a place of ever shifting sort of limits. You know, you both have your own boundaries, but you can create this sort of this third relationship domain with flexible limits where you can kind of put each of your little boundaries in there, but play with, you know, how much tolerance you have. Let's see, going into the next one, shame. So American culture is saturated in sexual shame, unfortunately. One of the things that I think set me up to be a sex educator is ever since youth, I just look around me and I've been baffled at how undiscussed, under the rug, like hush hush, sex and reproduction in general is, when it is literally the source of all existence. Everything around us replicates and has sex and reproduces. And it is a beautiful, beautiful source of pleasure in life. And we were built for it. We were literally built for pleasure. So going into, say, like some of the religious views and religious oppressions, this can deal a lot, again, with all those factors individually that come into play. But sort of the religious view that, you know, our genitals are not a part of our body, or they should only be set aside for certain times or places, when, you know, I would sort of juxtapose against that. Well, if we were created, say in a God's image, well, then he created us with pleasure organs, specifically designed and purpose built for us to experience pleasure. And in order for us to stay healthy, we do need to be having access to those parts and interacting with them. So yeah, and then there's of course some other challenges I could pose, but I won't spend too much time on that. There is media just, drowning us in unreal body image expectations. Um, Porn, especially, is a fantasy. It is not reality. And I wish there was a huge disclaimer before porn saying, like, this is literally fantasy film. If you are looking for any type of real encounters, there are a variety of ethical porn sites that I'd be happy to supply you all with. And most of them are of like just beautiful couples, married or monogamous, maybe not, but it is their actual encounters. It is not performative. Um, and I believe they do it for their pleasure, and it is on donation for them to earn income versus porn, where a lot of those porn stars are kind of robbed. And it's really not, they're not ethically earning the money. And then, of course, oh, sorry, go
Add,
ahead.
add to the unreal body image expectations, especially after having a baby. People just assume and expect that their bodies are just going to look exactly what it looked like 9 months ago before creating this baby. And, you know, and it's unbelievable and beautiful that your body just created this human. And so, you know, to kind of just like appreciate your new body because it's your body at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, love it for all it is, all it's built, all it's given. Yeah, it is. It is unfortunate how much strange expectation or pressure there is in the world to just be beautiful and glowing after just having a child. When you think of like your body just went through 9 to 10 months of change, of literally building, growing, developing, like head to toe, different hormones rushing, your breasts, like just everything that is changing in your body. It's spent 10 months in this state of change. And then it's going through an entire, 6 months to a year possibly of still supplying breast milk and still using your body to give to another living thing. And it sucks because, of course, there's like, Gwyneth Paltrow or like all these other movie stars out there that have so much money and so many physical trainers and cooks, like preparing everything so perfectly that they bounce back somehow in 3 months. And I wonder if that's even healthy.
Right. No, right. Yeah. I totally, but that's a whole other topic.
That's true. That's a whole nother topic, but it's like you should be, if I remember right, you might know this more than I am, but if I remember right, like post-child and while you're breastfeeding, you should be holding consistently at any point in time 10% higher ratio of body fat.
Yeah.
Your body has it as a store to be eating and giving.
Yeah, absolutely.
So keeping on like some weight throughout that entire year of breastfeeding is healthy because your body is just pumping it out to feed this baby.
Yeah, and it's sexy. So embrace
it. So this idea to like get in shape, like, it's been 6 months. Why aren't you in the gym? Really need to back off, kind of for the health of the baby, your body, and of course for shame and expectations. If I were a doctor, I would write a script to any postpartum woman for like, I don't know, 3 months, no penetration, 6 months, like, I don't even know, no real like high erotic expectations probably because they're so stressed out with this kid. Mm-hmm. And then a year before even really worrying about your body image. If you even want to. Plus embrace your stretch marks and embrace the beauty of being a mom, and all that giving and sacrifice and love for that baby. And then, of course, there's always fear and shame behind rejection. Like the real motivating factor behind shame is this idea that society or someone is going to say, based off of something, that we are no longer worthy in some way. And this is fed to us. It is reinforced throughout our life in a number of ways. Because shame, what is good for society in some ways. If there are rapists or murderers or things like that, you do want certain people to be ostracized and not really allowed to be a part of the community. But unfortunately, people feel like they have a right, I guess, to project their own feelings and insecurities and fears and shames onto others in the erotic realm when it really isn't welcome there. That is their domain. That is their boundary. They can deal with that in their own relationships. It should not be like a part of your erotic life. Your erotic life is private, not necessarily secret, right? There's no shame. It's not secret, but it's private. They're private parts. And with privacy, you get to choose who you want to share this with. So if you share something that you're afraid will be rejected, and they do end up saying like, oh my gosh, like that's so strange, then you kind of know they're not necessarily a safe person to approach necessarily that maybe with or in that way. But if someone's in your life and you're being erotic with them, then hopefully there's enough intimacy and vulnerability there that you can say, hey, I had a dream about this, or I kind of saw this on a website, or I saw this talk with Bailey and this thing sort of entered my mind. What would you think about this experiment? And they can just kind of say yes, maybe, or no. And that's what they're entitled to. And there's no real rejection with the no. They're not shaming you, saying you're not worthy of them with that. No, they're just saying that's not for me in this body. So kind of going on to anxiety, which is bolded for a reason. I think most of the people I see, I think most of my experience with anorgasmia or the inability to orgasm was from so much instilled anxiety. And mine, as I feel like is many others, if they tap into it, is very somatically stored. Which means it's really wrapped into my body. So it's very difficult for me to access pleasure or to want my genitals to be touched if I'm in an anxious state. And what I really put here is the example, but it's actually kind of a definition of anxiety. It is whenever your mind state is living in the past or the future, but is not in the present moment. So if you are, say interacting with your partner and you're starting to feel self-conscious, like, oh man, like, gosh, I'm so chubby, or like yada, 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 or my body's just not the same as it used to be. And you're starting to kind of like judge yourself and you're starting to like feel that anxiety. You are not living in that present moment anymore. You're no longer really aware of the room, the space, the temperature in the air, the moisture in your mouth, what you're gazing upon, the light in the room, literally the sensations across your hair. There's so much that you're suddenly out of touch because you're in your head, living in the future, concerned about their thoughts, or living in the past about how someone was maybe mean to you about your body or some other past trauma, but is not living in the present moment. And so if you really want to help yourself try to tap in and access more pleasure, it's a practice. It is a practice until you form a habit. So it's not easy. It's like brain exercise. But it really is trying to remind yourself every time you start getting back into that anxiety, which we tend to have wired into us to just keep re-triggering, to just pause for a second and tap into your senses, or tap into that present moment and be like, wait, who's right in front of me? This is my husband. His name is, blank. I've been married to him, or I've been with this person for this long. This person loves me. Look at how they're looking at me. They want me right now. Those are present facts. Other present facts are, wow, I love the smell of my own bed. I love the feel of our covers. I love the rough texture of their hands or the smooth texture of this. Like literally naming what's going on in that present moment can really help train your mind away from anxiety and more towards pleasure. Do you have anything you'd like to jump in on, Julie?
No, that is great.
Okay. So after going through all that and some of those blockers, and remember, these are all things that your partner very likely has as well. So you're both coming with all that. So getting into how to actually get our libido up a little, other than sort of training ourselves away from just this chronic anxious state that so many of us live in, and we're kind of trained to live in America. We're trained to shut off our body and focus on screens and work. So after we go through that habit training and that brain training and being patient with yourself, because it takes just kind of constantly reminding yourself to come to the present, then what else can we do? Well, it is so healthy to get blood flow into your genitals. So even if it doesn't do anything for you erotically, think of how, I guess I'm not really entirely sure if the audience knows, but if you think of how often men actually need to have an erection for the health of their genital organs, they have between 7 and 9 erections while sleeping at night for that very reason. It's not necessarily erotic at all. It is their body just getting blood flow in and out of that external organ to keep it functioning, to keep it healthy. It's also healthy for sperm mobility and rotation, for them to masturbate, if not daily, every other day. They're just always touching, right? And then we think of women, and again, there's cultural shame, yada, yada, yada. Putting that aside, think of women and how often we touch our genitals. How often are we getting blood flow down there? How often are we actually engorging the parts for the health of the parts? And it's definitely, at least for me, not daily or even really every other day like it should be, if we were to be keeping up with the men. So
And especially in the pelvic floor physical therapy realm.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely do have male patients and clients. The majority of women are women, and the section was even started out as women's health physical therapy, not pelvic floor physical therapy. And I wonder how much of that goes into, because men have this natural ability to keep their pelvic floors healthy by naturally getting those 7 to 9 erections at night when they're sleeping.
Yeah, it's just like auto built in, whereas we have to actually kind of do it ourselves. We don't get that ability in the middle of the night unless we get that rare special dream. Um, but yeah, actually, that's a really good point. From your point of view, yeah, I bet that would make a big difference in why men perhaps struggle a little less with pelvic floor issues.
If they're getting blood flow to those muscles,
Yeah.
those muscles are going to be healthier. So,
Right? They're exercised, they're flushed out. Yeah, they're getting all the new cells and all the good stuff. So yeah, one of the first things you can do is literally just start touching yourself. Just play with yourself a little, and it doesn't necessarily have to be for pleasure or to, orgasm. Just view it as like a genital massage. Just feel around those areas. Maybe you just like move the tissues, get a little blood in there. Again, just get a little curious. Don't be shy. If you do masturbate, heck yeah, masturbation's awesome. I promote so much masturbation. Like, enjoy your toys, have fun. If you have any safety concerns, obviously reach out to your doctor, me, Julie. But it is super healthy to incorporate any kind of daily erotic practice. Another thing that can increase and promote blood flow without touch to your genitals, if for some reason that seems uncomfortable to you, or again, maybe you just had a child. Other daily erotic practices can include listening to like a really sexy song and watching like a sexy music video and just kind of like feeling along to it. I personally love dancing and like getting my heart beat up. And so I will just put on a song that moves me and be ridiculous because I don't know, my cats are the only ones watching me, I guess. But yeah, I will do whatever I need to do and move however my body wants to move. And it can be erotically, it can be not, but I'm not doing it for anyone but me. You can look in the mirror. I personally don't. I get judgmental of myself, but I just move how it feels good to my body. And by the end, I'm feeling my heart beating. I have a little sweat on my brow. And because I've been doing it to a song that moves me sensually or erotically, I do feel warmer in my nether regions, and I do feel a little more inclined to kind of touch myself or rub on something or, just think sexy thoughts.
great.
Yeah. So other libido boosters are your physical state. So have your hormone levels been assessed, especially your estrogen? Have you kind of just sort of checked in with yourself? Where are you at in your period cycle? Like, oh, maybe I haven't been interested in sex because I'm not near ovulation. So this is just going to take some more work. Again, pregnancy status, hormones are everywhere, blood flows all over the place. You're horny, you're not, you're angry and horny and not. I don't know. I imagine there's a lot going on. And then pre and post menopause is probably where I see a lot of like dramatic change that stays for the long term, like kind of consistently. And I think a lot of that does have to do with those estrogen levels. There are some different like estrogen creams that when you are, kind of wanting to get in the mood, like, or, you're going to be going on vacation for a week or something. From my understanding, you can get some creams, kind of like just rub a little bit down there. And it kind of gets that area like a little more primed, it gets it a little more moist, a little more taut, gets a little blood flow down there, just gets the hormones, I guess, to that level of preparation, pre-interaction. Let's see, use of preparation time and fantasy play is really important. Men may not need much preparation time. They may not even need a shower. You might have to insist on that. I don't know. But everyone has the things they need in order to feel comfortable enough to remove one of these like larger layers of anxiety. For a lot of people, this is like having sex in the dark, or just not necessarily being seen. That's not necessarily a problem if it's not a problem for the other partner, but if the other partner misses gazing upon you, then, you know, maybe other uses of preparation time should be highly considered. I know some of what I do is I'll take like a long sensual bath that is for me to calm my mind down. You know, I'll shave my legs, do the things I feel like I need to do, you know, put on some lotion or some oil. And then I like setting the scene. Men may not necessarily care about candles, but I like it. I like romantic mood lighting, and I usually like certain smells, like an amber smell or something in the air. So it's not just the smell of me that I'm smelling, or him, you know. But, you know, go through your five senses, go through your room. What is it lacking to create that atmosphere? And treat yourself to making it, to preparing it. And this is also something that you could offer to your partner as well. This is something you can do to help get me in the mood. One of the things I have issues with is a incredibly messy, disorganized area, or if there's just like, you know, clothes everywhere, I don't want to be like laying on top of them. So I know one of the preparation things I tend to do is like, you know, kind of pick everything up and organize it, but that's also something I could request of my partner and say, look, this is very hard for me because I walk in my bedroom and all I'm seeing are the things I need to do, or kids' toys everywhere, and that's not turning me on. So could you please remove the kid toys before that to let me know that you're interested? Or could you please help set the scene so I'm not distracted?
I love kind of just like, that's such a good like subtle communication way of it, right? Like if your partner is in the mood, like just pick up the toys, pick up the laundry, and then I'll be ready. That's great.
Yeah, it's like, no, these are the things I need to literally just like chip away at all these little anxieties, because they're just little distractions, right?
And Bailey, I don't want to cut this short, so maybe we should do a second, but we do only have about 5 minutes left.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm sorry. I am taking a long time doing that. But yes, so have fun, be curious, experiment within your expressed boundaries. Your partner is your best friend, and the bedroom is your playground. You think about when you were a kid and you used to play on the playground with your best friend. Well, as we grow older and we develop more intimate sexual relationships, well, that partner becomes your best friend. And where does the playground go? It goes to the bedroom. So yeah, just experiment. I guess I will go through this one last libido boosters, and then I may stop here. And we can always have a second one. But other libido boosters, and I cannot underline this enough, is practice empowering your voice and choice. Communicating your wants, needs, and desires is your responsibility and yours alone. And it is hard. We're not trained to do it. In fact, a lot of women have panic responses when they are simply saying, no, that's not working for me and this nervous system. So that's something I work on a lot in my office. And I encourage you and your partner at some point to literally, if you're uncomfortable with something, like get in his face and say no, and keep saying it like louder and louder and louder until you freaking mean it. And then try to come up with a non-verbal way of expressing that in the bedroom. Because when we're deep in our body, we lose our verbal ability oftentimes. So not only feeling it and knowing you can say it, but then having like a gesture of, yes, this is feeling great, or I'm unsure, be careful, or no, this isn't doing it for me. And that can be an experiment that you guys can do. Yeah, body-based pleasure is very important. Don't focus on orgasm or some kind of end goal. It should be about connecting through pleasure. I wonder if I have time for this. You know what? We can go over this next time. But if anyone wants to screenshot this or, you know, go through this resource video, which is a little lengthy, but fantastic. It essentially sums it up so that everyone takes turns. So, you know, if there's two people, there's a giver and a receiver. So one of you chooses who's going to be the giver or the receiver, and you go through each one of these and those different roles, specifically asking these questions and taking a pause to answer authentically, not automatically. This is a great place to practice your yes, maybes, no's. This is a lovely game I'd love to go into more, but it is certainly something you can take away for Valentine's Day and say, hey, I just want to do this 3-minute game where for 3 minutes, I take for my pleasure. For 3 minutes, I touch you for your pleasure, et cetera, and then change roles. Okay. Oops. All right. Well, thank you very, very much.
Bailey, thank you so much. This was so special to have you, and especially on your birthday. Happy birthday.
Yes,
and where can everyone find you?
Yes, so everyone can find me on my website or on Facebook. I'm kind of everywhere. So if you look up the Art, Romance, and Reality LLC, or if there's a chat, I can throw it in there. Same with Facebook, Art, Romance, and Reality LLC. My name again is Bailey Barmettler. I assume when we post this up on YouTube, it'll have my information, my website, my phone number, and all that good stuff there. But I do offer free 30-minute consultations. I am willing to work on a sliding scale, especially during COVID. And I do specialize a lot with trauma. That's one of my favorite things to work with is couples and helping people who have a lot of stored trauma in their body. So
that's so great. I can seriously just not thank you enough. So thank you. And I'm excited for part 2 of